It had been nearly 8 years since Amelia last saw him, 8 long years of learning how to stitch her broken heart back together piece by fragile piece, 8 years of sleepless nights holding on to the weight of responsibility and the warmth of her little girl's tiny arms wrapped around her neck, reminding her that even when the world abandoned her, she had a reason to live, and that reason now laughed and danced between the wooden tables of the quaint cafe Amelia built from nothing but grit, hope, and the ashes of dreams she once thought were gone forever. The cafe smelled of roasted coffee beans, fresh bread, and the faintest touch of vanilla, a haven of warmth in a city that rarely slowed down, and every morning Amelia stood behind the counter with her apron tied neatly around her waist, her golden hair tied back, and her eyes reflecting both exhaustion and pride as she served the customers who had become more like family than strangers, never once suspecting that the man who shattered her heart and left her carrying his child in silence would one day step through those glass doors again, not as the struggling ambitious man she once loved but as a powerful CEO whose name appeared in magazines and whose photographs adorned the business columns, his sharp jawline and confident smile declaring to the world that he had conquered everything except the truth he had abandoned. That morning was supposed to be like any other, with little Lily humming a tune as she colored on the corner table, her blonde curls bouncing as she laughed at the silly face her mother made while pouring a cappuccino, and Amelia reminding herself that this cafe, these people, and most of all her daughter were enough. She didn't need anything else, certainly not him, not the men who had chosen ambition over love, wealth over family, and power over the fragile promise they once whispered beneath the stars. But fate has a cruel way of testing the walls we build, and just as the clock struck 10 and the morning rush began to thin, the bell above the cafe door jingled and in walked Alexander Knight, the name Amelia had sworn never to say out loud again, the face that still haunted her dreams even when she tried to bury it, the man who left her trembling as if her heart remembered the way it used to race for him even when her mind screamed to hate him, his tall frame cutting an intimidating figure in a tailored suit, his dark hair perfectly styled, his eyes scanning the cafe not with arrogance but with something softer, heavier, as though even he felt the ghosts of the past lingering in the air. Amelia froze, her hands tightening around the coffee cup she was preparing, her breath caught in her throat, and though she tried to busy herself, her body betrayed her, trembling under the weight of memories, the night he promised he'd never let go, the morning he walked away without looking back, the day she discovered she carried his child, and the years she raised Lily alone, praying that her daughter would never ask too many questions about the father she had never known. Alexander's gaze swept across the cafe, not yet landing on her, but in that instant a small voice pierced the tension, a giggle followed by a question so innocent and so sharp it sliced through Amelia's carefully built defenses. "Mommy, who's that?" Lily had stopped coloring, her big blue eyes fixed on the tall stranger, curiosity glowing in her innocent face, and as Alexander's eyes finally locked with Amelia's, time stopped, the hum of conversations and clinking of coffee cups fading into silence, his breath hitching as if he had seen not just the woman he left but also the little girl whose curls and eyes mirrored his own. Amelia's knees threatened to buckle. She wanted to scream, to cry, to demand why he had come after all these years. But before she could find words, Lily hopped off her chair and toddled closer, her small fingers clutching the edge of Alexander's expensive suit, tilting her head with childlike curiosity, and then, in a voice that carried the truth Amelia had hidden for so long, she asked the question that made Alexander pale and Amelia's heart shatter all over again, "Daddy?" And the cafe seemed to inhale with her, every customer frozen, the past colliding with the present in one word that changed everything, and Alexander, the man who conquered the world but lost his soul, stood rooted to the floor, his eyes wide, his hands trembling as though fate had finally come to collect the debt he owed. Amelia's chest tightened, panic rising, and though she wanted to protect her daughter from disappointment, she knew nothing would ever be the same again, not after that word hung in the air, binding them all to a truth long buried but never erased, and as her world tilted Amelia whispered only to herself, "Why now? Why you? Why us again?" But deep down she knew this was only the beginning of a storm far more powerful than the heartbreak she once endured.